All right, the cat is finished eating, so we can begin. So today I am going to talk about the elephant in the room, my book cart, which is full entirely of books that I have not read. And I don't know how many books are on these 3 shelves, but there's a lot. I'm guessing above 50. I've organized them based on the books that I want to read the most at the top, the books that I am like, meh, I'm excited to read it, but not right now. And then the bottom is books that I mainly bought from like thrift stores for $1 or $2, and I have pretty much no idea about it. I just have either seen it being talked about or I know the author. So I bought it because you can't refuse a good book deal. We're gonna start with those books at the bottom that I am not terribly excited about, but have nonetheless. So I'm gonna run through these very quickly because I don't really know what a lot of them are about. So first we have Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens, and I know nothing about this story, but it's one of his most famous novels, so I figured why not grab it. And this is an ugly copy, but $1. Next book, we have another one I have no idea about. It's called 3 Men in a Boat, and also 3 Men on the Bumble, by Jerome K. Jerome. And this is a classic that I know nothing about, but someone said it was funny, so I bought it because I am easily influenced. Next, we have The Dove Keepers by Alice Hoffman. I bought this simply because I knew of Alice Hoffman from her Practical Magic book series, and I've never read her, but I know that book series, I don't even know if it's a series. Those books, though, are very popular. So I feel like she has to be an okay writer, right? Next, we have The Kite Runner, a book that I have had for like so long, probably like, I don't know, 2 years, but I'm scared to read it because it's apparently like the saddest thing ever. And it takes place in, I think, modern day Afghanistan. And yeah, I'm just not ready, so. Another classic. I find a lot of classics at thrift stores. I feel like that's a universal experience. They just end up at thrift stores and I recognize the titles and I go, I'm gonna take this home with me and eventually maybe read it. So we have Tess of D'Urbervilles, I don't know. And it's by Thomas Hardy, and this is about Tess of D'Urbervilles. Next we have The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. Yeah. And this is also a play. I saw the play on Broadway when I was in high school and I loved it. I cried, and so now I'm like, I should definitely read the book, I suppose. Next we have Room, which is another one that I've had for so long, and it sounds very interesting. Even though I don't remember what it's about, but when I bought it, it sounded very interesting. And another classic, this is Persuasion by Jane Austen, and I'm trying to read all of Jane Austen's novels, and I've so far only read like 3. Persuasion, I have no idea what it's about, so it's kind of at the bottom of my list for Jane Austen books that I want to read, but I have it. Then I have a few David Sedaris books. This is, what does it say? Dress Your Family in Corduroy and Denim. and he's a creative nonfiction writer who just writes little funny stories, and I like them. So got that, and also got his book Calypso, which has such a funny little cover. Then I got this book last December and then proceeded to not read it, but I feel like I can't read it until this December because it is called One Day in December by Josie Silver. So this is another little cute rom-com. I think it's something about these two people are meeting every day on December by chance, but that could be entirely wrong. Then we have The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out the Window and Disappeared. This. And I bought this because it is I think he's a Swedish author, and it was back when it was in the midst of the pandemic. It was sad girl hours, and I thought the only way to feel happy was to take advice from Nordic people because they have like the happiest people happiness index in the world. And it's probably because they have healthcare. And so I bought that, and it's about a 100-year-old man who climbs out the window and disappears. Next, we have a weird one. My mom got me this for Christmas last year, and it's the bestseller for her birth year. Creative idea, but weird book. So this is called Portnoy's Complaint by Philip Roth. And I don't know much about this, but I read the little blurb when I got it. She had not read the blurb. And it's basically about this kid and his struggles with his sexual impulses and how they're like kind of messed up and perverted. So, Portnoy's Complaint. Going along with that, she also got a bestseller from my dad's birth year. And this one seems a lot more normal and a lot more enjoyable. And it is Wheels by Arthur Haley. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend. And this book is about the automobile industry and the people that are in it and their lives, which sounds up my alley. I love a good little like story about people in a field that I know nothing about. Next, we have The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. And this, everyone talks about it. Everyone on social media raves about this book. So when I saw it, I was like, I have to buy it. It does not have a dust jacket or anything, but has a cute little emblem on the cover, so it's fine. And that's about a circus in the night. A rule of thumb that I go by is if I see a book that has the book of the month little stamp at the thrift store, then I just buy it. Because I feel like book of the month books are always going to be at least a little bit good. I got this book. It is The Clockmaker's Daughter. And I've heard of this and a lot of people love it. So I figured why not? But it's a big one, so I really have to be motivated to read it. And then we have Wonderstruck by Brian Selznick. This is a very interesting book. I'm just gonna take, it has a cute little, so I don't need the dust jacket. Anyway, this is an interesting book because it is like, most of it is pictures, but then there's also words. So it's kind of like a graphic novel in a way, but not. It's a cute little book. It'll be a nice, easy read. Why not? Then I have another book by Khalid Hosseini, and this is 1,000 Splendid Suns. And again, no idea what this is about, but I know it's sad, so I don't want to read it, but I'm going to. Next, I have a collection of Agatha Christie books. I don't think these are all of her books. They can't be because it's only like 600 pages, but it's a lot of them. And they're all in one place, which is fun, but also not fun because it's automatically intimidating, even though like this is one book, not the entire thing. But in my mind, I'm like, if I open this, I have to read it all, which doesn't need to be the case, but that's just how my mind works. So I keep avoiding it. Next, this was a complete cover buy, not gonna lie. Found it at the thrift store. And it is We Run the Tides. I think it takes place in San Francisco, and these two girls witness a murder, or they're involved in a murder. Something happens, but then they grow up and they leave, and now they're coming back, I believe. I don't know how I remembered all that. That could be entirely wrong, but if that's right, I'm proud of myself because I got that a few months ago. Lastly, we have a Kristen Hanna book, Magic Hour, the goddess herself. I love Kristen Hanna, but I've never heard about this book, so I have put off reading it because I feel like it's probably one of her early works. It's probably not as good. But she's a really good historical fiction writer, and I don't think this is historical fiction, but I'm sure it'll be all right. We are done. We are done with the bottom shelf. So now just 2 more to go. All right, we're on to the second shelf. Very exciting. So this shelf is made up of books that I want to read. No, I already said that. So let's get started. First, I just bought this because I realized I have 2 of her other little poetry collection books, and I didn't have this one. So this is Homebody by Rupi Kaur, and I'm not very into poetry anymore, but I just felt like I had to complete the collection. And they're cute. Like, pick it up, read a little poem, but not like dying to get to that. Then, another classic, we have Life of Pi. It's about a boy and a tiger. I know nothing about it, but I've heard a lot of good things, and it's like a modern day classic. We got a lot of those in here, and I feel like I have to read it, so it's in there. Then we have Gillian Flynn, Dark Places. I have read some of her other books. I've only read Sharp Objects, and I really liked it, but this one I started to read, tried to get into it, and just could not. So I'll try this again later, but I don't know. Then we have The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. So I don't know if this really has a plot or if it's more just gathered thoughts underneath the guise of a novel. You get what I mean? Like one of those books that's no plot, just vibes. I feel like that's what this is going to be. But I'm actually very excited to read this. It's just not on like my top for this month, but I do need to read that. Then we have 2 Frances Hodgson Burnett, yeah, him, The Secret Garden, and A Little Princess. And these are just 2 little cute children's classics books, and I want to read them. I think I'll probably read at least The Secret Garden this spring, because you can't get more spring than that. Like, garden. I actually got some really good ones on this middle shelf. This is like reminding me of all the books I have, which is good so that I don't go out and buy more. We have The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, and this was a big one last year that everyone was reading. And we have 9 Stories by J.D. Salinger. I recently read Franny and Zoe, and it was really good. I wanted to read more of his short stories. Then we have a book by Elizabeth Gilbert. This is The Signature of All Things. And I think it's about, like, I know it involves like the meaning of flowers and how, like, in Victorian times each flower had like a different meaning. So if you gave someone like a white rose, it was like, you're gonna die. That's the only one I remember the meaning of. Then we have these, which were just too cute to pass up, honestly. They're John Steinbeck, The Grapes of Wrath and East of Eden. I've only read Of Mice and Men in high school. And boy, was that a traumatizing book for a 9th grader to read. Next, we have Severance by Ling Ma. And I've had this again for a long time. It's like an apocalyptic, dystopian kind of vibe book. And that is all I know. That's all I need to know. Then another 2 classics. We have Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. And this one I think I might read next. So it really should be at the top, but I'm not planning to read Austen this month. So then we have A Room with a View by E.M. Forster. I don't exactly remember what this is about. I think it involves a woman cheating while her husband is away. Then we have Normal People by Sally Rooney. I just have not been reaching to pick this up because I've already watched the show, which I try not to do that, but I watched it before I was really back into reading. And now I'm just not reaching for it, but I should. So I have another David Sedaris book. This is The Best of Me. I think this is just a collection of stories from his other books. And I have 2 Leanne Moriarty books. We have 9 Perfect Strangers, which is now a show that I have not watched. And it is following like a wellness retreat, and these strangers and weird stuff happens. Then we have The Husband's Secret. I don't really know what this is about. I think the husband dies and leaves a little like secret behind. I think that's what it is. Then we have big books. The Great Alone. And The Great Alone is, I'm actually very excited for this one. This one's a Kristen Hanna book, and it's about a soldier from Vietnam or a refugee from Vietnam, something along those lines, who moves to Alaska and is trying to like start a new life there. And it's historical fiction, which I love, and it sounds very good, but since it takes place in Alaska, I feel like I have to read it in the winter. Then we have Free Food for Millionaires. I started reading this pretty recently actually, and it's very interesting, but I just cannot commit to a giant book right now because I'm reading Middlemarch, which is a like 700-page classic. So I'm not gonna put that much pressure on myself, but this is a very interesting book. It just follows a girl in New York. My camera's about to die, so I'm going really fast. Follows a girl in New York who is like, her boyfriend is in a social circle with a bunch of millionaires, so she's seeing how they interact, but her family's not wealthy, something along those lines. Last, we have Imposter Syndrome, which again, a book of the month book that I bought because it was a book of the month book at the thrift store. And this is about a girl in Silicon Valley working in like computer science, and then weird stuff happens. Okay, we are on to the last shelf, the top shelf, which has the books that I am most excited for and am going to read hopefully very soon. So this book should actually get moved down because I'm not planning on reading it until the fall winter vibes. I feel like it'll just be so much better then. But if I have a strong desire for dark academia, then I'll pick it up. But it's just The Secret History. You all know it. It's like the classic dark academia book, and murder and students and literature and Greek mythology and all of that. That's what I know of that. Then we have Dog Park. So I bought this at the beginning of the year at Barnes & Noble's, like buy one, get one half off or get one free hardback sale. It's a really good deal. And so I decided to step out of my comfort zone and get this that I've heard nothing about, still have heard nothing about. I know it has something to do with like post-Soviet era Russia, I think, or some Eastern European country, and something about kids being like swapped at birth. I don't think it's necessarily a thriller, but I think it has thriller elements to it, and I just know nothing about it. It's also a like translated book. I think the author is from Finland or Estonia. So that's exciting, and it just has a really cute cover. Then we have The Cartographers, which I recently got and have yet to read. And this is about a girl who, her dad was a cartographer, I think, and then he dies, and then she has to like solve why he died because it's mysterious. One of those. Then we have The Heart Principle, which is the last book in the like Kiss Quotient, not series, but like books that all kind of relate to each other but aren't necessarily a series. Anyway, I loved the first two books in this series, and I'm sure I'm going to love this one. So I need to pick it up. But I haven't been in like a rom-com-y mood lately. Then these books are basically the books that I'm going to read this month, aside from a few. This one I don't think I'll get to this month, but this is Blacktop Wasteland. It's a thriller about, I think, like a getaway driver. And I love S.A. Cosby's writing because I read Razorblade Tears, and that was like one of my favorite books of last year. So very excited for that. Then we have two Riley Sager books. I have these on my list for this month. This is Home Before Dark, which is like a typical haunted house horror thriller book. And then we have Lock Every Door, which I think takes place in like a rich family's house, which is always fun. I have The Bachelor. This is another one that I bought at the same time as Dog Park, and this is not what the cover seems. It is more so, I think, like a no plot, just vibes book, and kind of talking about love. So, okay, so a man, I think in this, a man moves back to his hometown in Iowa because he just went through a breakup, and then he discovers The Bachelor and he starts like binging The Bachelor, and then it's just all vibes from there. Then we have My Dark Vanessa. I also plan to read this month. It is about this woman who finds out that one of her previous teachers that she was close to was accused of sexual assault. I think that's around the lines of it. Then we have The Maid by Nita Prose. This is just a little mystery. I think it all takes place like in the hotel room. This maid finds a like fancy wealthy guest dead in his room, and she has to like solve why that happened. something along that line. Then we have Crying in H Mart. This has again been on my list for so long, but I just need to pick it up. But apparently it's very sad, so that's and also it's a memoir, so I don't gravitate towards memoirs, but I need to step outside my comfort zone. I have Breasts and Eggs, and this again was another just cover buy, and I know nothing about it, but it involves like sisters and sisterhood and women, and that's all you need, right? And I opened I opened it up before I bought it, and I read the first few pages and it was very captivating, so excited to read that. Then, oh, it's the last one. Yay! This is Her Body and Other Parties, and this is just a short story collection, and I've been meaning to get into short story collections because they're just easy. You can pick them up, read, and then move on. So that is the final book that I need to get to. I am overwhelmed. That like made me anxious, just how many books I have and haven't read. That's what going to the thrift store gets you. Thank you for watching. If you like any of these books and want me to read them or think I should read them, then comment them below and like this video if you liked it. I'm sorry that it was kind of just a jumbled mess of books, but that's sometimes fun, you know? Like, it's kind of like a peek inside someone's life. It's like a what's in my bag kind of video. You get to see what books I have randomly stored and why I haven't read them. So yes, thank you for watching and happy reading. Enjoy your book. All that. Goodbye.